What happens when silence becomes the loudest voice in the room? How long can dignity wait before it breaks? What would you do if the world stared at your skin before your eyes? The air in the principal's office feels too still, too heavy for morning light. A paper lies between them, bright, perfect, condemned. She stands with her palms sweating, her chest tight, her hope trembling like glass. He watches her as though truth were a trick she might pull from her sleeve. The flag outside flaps without meaning. The clock ticks without mercy. Every second drags her closer to a sentence already written. No one scores this high without assistance, he says. The word cheating doesn't need to be spoken. It floats there like smoke, choking everything it touches. She doesn't cry. Not yet. Her voice, soft and breaking, says the only thing she can, and I didn't cheat. But the silence that follows feels like the final bell. The hallway feels longer today, stretched by stairs and silence. Lockers clang in slow rhythm. Whispers crawl like smoke along the walls. 1,000 small eyes follow her every step, some curious, some cruel, none kind. The word cheater has already left the office and found a home in every mouth that hungers for gossip. Amara walks through it, her head high, but her stomach hollow. Her mother's voice echoes in her memory. Don't let them define you, baby. Let them misjudge you. You know the truth? But truth feels thin now, invisible against the tide of judgment. A few teachers turn away. Her favorite one, Mr. Lowe, lowers his eyes, and for a moment she wishes she could vanish. Not because she's guilty, but because she's tired of proving she's not. Home feels smaller when the world outside turns cruel. The kitchen hums with the sound of an old refrigerator, the air thick with unspoken words. Her mother sits at the table, still in her nurse scrubs, dark circles beneath her eyes deepening under the weak kitchen light. A bowl of uneaten rice sits between them. Amara traces the edge of the wooden table, eyes fixed on the grain as if answers were hidden there. They think I cheated, she whispers. Her mother's jaw tightens. They thought your grandmother stole when she took what was hers. They thought I lied when I spoke up. Baby, they'll always think something. You just make sure they never write. The quiet hangs heavy. But inside that silence, something fragile and bright begins to form. Resolve. The next morning, a knock echoes at the door. Short, formal, final. A letter slides beneath it, white and sharp against the brown floorboards. Amara picks it up, fingers trembling before she even reads it. Immediate expulsion. Academic misconduct. The words strike harder than any insult. Her breath catches. Her mother rushes over. Reading it once, twice, her voice trembling but fierce. They can't do this, but they can. And they did. Amara's mind spins. The test, the looks, the silence. All of it leading here. She folds the paper carefully, as though gentleness might change its meaning. Then she looks up at her mother, her voice breaking like dawn. What do I do now? Her mother whispers. You start again. You show them what truth really looks like. The phone rings late. The world is quiet, wrapped in the hush of tired houses and sleepless thoughts. Amara doesn't move at first. The sound feels unreal, misplaced in her grief. Her mother answers, voice cautious, brittle. A pause. Then surprise softens her tone. NASA? She looks toward her daughter, hand trembling. On the other end, a calm voice explains. We reviewed her math submission. It matches an algorithm we've been developing. We'd like to speak with her. For a heartbeat, time freezes. The shame, the whispers, the pain, all of it cracks open beneath the weight of this moment. Amara's eyes widen, disbelief washing into something radiant, unstoppable. Hope, reborn through truth. Her desk sits empty now, a hollow space in the classroom where her laughter once lived. The whispers haven't stopped. They've only changed shape. Some say she's been arrested. Others say she ran away. Truth, as always, has no voice in this room. Mr. Lowe looks at the vacant seat, his chalk pausing midair. He remembers her solving problems faster than the clock could count, her mind like wind, silent, unstoppable. He knows she didn't cheat. He knew it the moment she handed him that paper with numbers that sang. But fear makes good men quiet. As he erases the board, the chalk dust swirls like ghosts, reminders of all the brilliance buried by silence. The porch smells like rain and gossip. Mrs. Daniels sits in her worn chair, hands clasped tight, her scrubs faded from long hours. The neighbor leans on the railing, pretending kindness while feeding the story everyone wants. It's a shame, really, she says. So smart, and yet. Her words trail off, unfinished but sharp. Mrs. Daniels nods, says nothing. She's too tired to fight whispers. She's saving her strength for something bigger. Behind her, the screen door creaks open. Amara steps out, shoulders squared, eyes steady. The neighbor's voice falters. In that silence, Amara doesn't need to say a word. Her presence is enough to rewrite the moment. Books never judged her. They only listened. The library smells of dust and dreams, a quiet refuge from the noise outside. Amara runs her fingers across the spines, each title a doorway to a world that doesn't ask for proof. She sits in her corner seat, opens a notebook, and starts writing formulas from memory. The numbers come easily. They've always been friends. For the first time since the expulsion, her breathing evens. She thinks of stars, of orbits, of motion, of places where minds like hers belong. A soft voice interrupts. The librarian leaves a small, sticky note beside her. Keep going. And for the first time, she smiles. The phone buzzes again, this time not from shame but revelation. The local news station wants to interview them. NASA confirms Alabama teen identified as top young mathematician candidate. The words roll across the television screen, bright as sunlight after a storm. Mrs. Daniels covers her mouth. Amara just stares, caught between disbelief and joy. The same neighbors who whispered now peer through curtains. For once, the world seems to bend toward fairness. Just a little. But beneath the triumph, she feels something stronger than pride. Purpose. Because justice, when it comes, demands more than applause. It demands change. When she walks back into the school, the halls fall silent. Not from fear, but respect. The same eyes that once mocked her now widen in apology they'll never speak. Principal Grant waits at the door of his office, face stiff, voice trembling around words like misunderstanding and reconsideration. She listens quietly, nodding only once. I didn't need your permission to be who I am, she says softly. Then turns away. Outside, the wind carries her curls across her face. Somewhere far above, the stars she used to dream about seem closer now. Not because the world changed overnight, but because she refused to shrink when it didn't. The letter from NASA arrives quietly, almost humbly, as if unaware of the power folded within its white envelope. Amara opens it with trembling fingers, her heart racing faster than logic can calculate. Inside, a single page, an invitation to visit Houston for a mentorship program in advanced mathematics. The paper feels unreal in her hands. Her mother reads over her shoulder, eyes glistening with pride too long delayed. They see you, she whispers, voice thick with emotion. Amara nods, her throat too tight to speak. For the first time, the future doesn't feel like a dream she's chasing. It feels like it's reaching for her. Houston smells of heat and possibility. The lab buzzes with energy, computer screens flickering like galaxies in miniature. doctor. Maya Torres greets her with a firm handshake and a knowing smile. The kind that sees not what the world says you are, but what you already are becoming. We've been studying your equations, she says. You think like a physicist, not a student. Amara blushes, unsure how to respond. The woman's confidence feels contagious. In this room, surrounded by brilliance, no one questions her place. The air hums with belonging. A language she finally understands. It's not an exam, not in the old way, but it feels like one. Rows of computers hum softly, equations spiraling across the screens. Amara's fingers hover over the keyboard, her mind racing, mapping, imagining. The task: to predict orbital drift from incomplete data. Around her, other young minds type rapidly, their focus absolute. But Amara's approach is different. She closes her eyes, visualizes the pattern, then writes like the numbers themselves are speaking. When she finishes, she looks up to find Dr. Torres watching her, nodding slightly. You didn't just solve it, the mentor says. You saw it. For the first time, Amara smiles without hesitation. A week later, her face appears on television again. This time framed by honor, not accusation. NASA welcomes Amara Johnson, teen mathematician, to its mentorship initiative, the announcer says. Cameras capture her modest smile, her nervous hands, her mother standing beside her beaming like sunrise. The same town that once whispered her downfall now gathers around screens in quiet amazement. Even Principal Grant pauses in his office, the sound of her name softening his stern expression. Redemption has no apology. It simply arrives, bright and undeniable. Under the vast Texas night, Amara stands outside the lab, gazing up at the stars she once only read about. They look closer now, almost reachable. Her phone buzzes. Messages from classmates, from strangers, from people who once doubted. She smiles softly, then turns it off. This moment isn't for them. It's for the girl who stood in a principal's office and refused to bow to lies. The world had tried to shrink her brilliance into shame, but truth has a way of shining louder than injustice. She whispers to the sky, "This is just the beginning." The screen flashes red. A miscalculation. A ripple of tension cuts through the lab. For the first time, Amara's hands freeze over the keyboard. Around her, other analysts whisper softly, waiting. She feels it, that old, heavy doubt, the one she thought she left behind in Alabama. Dr. Torres leans over, calm but serious. You're human, Amara. Fix it and move on. But the voice in her head, born from years of proving herself, screams louder than reason. She takes a deep breath, closes her eyes, and starts again. This time, the numbers fall perfectly into place. The red fades to green. The silence breaks into applause, not for perfection but resilience. Amara presents her work to a panel for the first time. Equations cover the whiteboard like poetry, fluid, fearless. But across the table, an older supervisor frowns, his tone sharp. Did you complete this independently? The question lands like a familiar wound. She straightens her shoulders. Yes, sir. Every calculation, the room stills. Dr. Torres watches silently, proud and protective. The man's eyes narrow, but her confidence holds steady. When the presentation ends, the applause feels restrained, but her spirit isn't. She leaves the room. She no longer needs permission to exist in brilliance. That night, she can't sleep. The stars above Houston shimmer like distant codes waiting to be solved. She walks along the quiet path outside the dorms, the air heavy with questions. Not about math, but about meaning. Every battle she's fought, every label she's outlived, led her here. But now she wonders, what if her purpose is bigger than equations? What if her true work is to open doors wider for those who'll come after her? The night hums in answer, soft and endless. Somewhere, a shooting star slices through the dark, burning brightly, refusing to fade. A journalist from a national magazine arrives, polite smile, careful tone. Your story has inspired so many, he says. How does it feel to be a symbol? She hesitates, then answers, I'm not a symbol. I'm a person who was doubted and kept going. He nods. But his questions circle back to her pain, not her brilliance. Later, Dr. Torres finds her sitting outside, quiet but unbroken. They'll always want the tragedy, her mentor says softly. But you're the story after the tragedy. The words root deep inside her, truth heavy with power. She won't let the world freeze her in pain when her light was made for movement. What? The final test of her internship arrives. A simulated spacecraft launch built from her own trajectory calculations. Every heartbeat echoes through her fingertips as she inputs the final line of code. The countdown begins. 10, 9, 8. Her hands clasped together, eyes locked on the screen. When the virtual rocket ignites flawlessly, cheers erupt, but Amara just stands still, smiling through tears she didn't expect. Not for the success, but for the girl inside her who survived disbelief to reach this room. Dr. Torres hugs her tightly. You did it, she whispers. No. Amara replies softly. We did. Fame arrives like thunder, loud, sudden, and never asking permission. News trucks crowd the NASA gates, microphones chasing her smile. At first, it feels like justice finally found a stage. But the questions change quickly. How does it feel to be a black girl in a white man's field? Do you think NASA picked you for diversity? The words sting, dressed as curiosity. Amara keeps her voice even, her posture steady, but her chest tightens with every flash. Later that night, she sits alone in her dorm, scrolling through comments that cut deeper than any rumor from home. She whispers to herself, they still don't see me. They just see the story. Outside, lightning flashes across Houston's sky, bright and unforgiving. The next day, her work is reviewed again, this time by a committee. They call it standard protocol, but Amara feels the undertow of doubt hidden beneath their politeness. Equations she built are dissected, questioned, rechecked. She sits still, hands folded, heart pounding. Dr. Torres defends her calculations, sharp and fearless, yet Amara notices how every rebuttal seems to require her mentor's voice instead of her own. When the meeting ends, the chairman says, "Excellent work for someone your age." The phrase twists like wire around her pride. As the door closes, she finally exhales, vowing that next time, her work will speak louder than any label. That night, everything crashes in at once. The interviews, the scrutiny, the weight of always being exceptional, just to be equal. She sits on her dorm bed, laptop open, the harsh glow lighting her tear-streaked face. The article headline reads, "Prodigy or Publicity." The words blur as she blinks back tears. She presses her palms to her eyes, forcing the sobs down until they turn to trembling silence. A knock breaks through. Dr. Torres at the door, gentle and steady. Without a word, she sits beside her, arm around her shoulder. Amara finally lets go. The tears come fast now, years of restraint spilling out. "I'm tired," she whispers. "Then rest," her mentor answers softly. "But don't stop." Morning finds Amara sitting on the dorm balcony, the city below washed clean by rain. Dr. Torres' words echo, "Rest, but don't stop." She opens her laptop and begins to write. Not equations this time, but a message to every student who's ever been called a mistake for being brilliant, she types. "You are not the problem." She posts it before fear can stop her. Within hours, Messages flood in, kids from every corner of the country sharing stories of being overlooked, doubted, dismissed. For the first time, she feels the power of her voice, not as a prodigy or a proof, but as a spark. Weeks later, she stands once more in the control room, this time as part of the team. Her data guides a live satellite launch. Around her, engineers trade, nods, confidence replacing curiosity. As the countdown begins, she closes her eyes and breathes. 10, 9, 8. The screen flares white as the rocket slices upward, piercing cloud after cloud. Cheers rise, but she barely hears them. She's looking through the glass wall at the sky, thinking of her mother, of that small town, of the office where it all began. She whispers, "We're still rising." And the roar from above answers, "Coming home feels different now." The same roads still twist through red clay and pine, but the silence greets her kindly this time. Children wave from porches. Old neighbors watch with soft smiles. At the school gates, the brick wall seems smaller, almost harmless. Inside, the principal's office remains unchanged. The same ticking clock, the same window where sunlight used to feel cruel. She stands there quietly, not seeking apology, only closure. The world once tried to shrink her here, but she walks out taller, carrying peace where pain once lived. The classroom smells of chalk and dust, just like it used to. But now, every seat is filled with eyes wide and bright. Amara stands where she once sat, in front of the whiteboard, explaining the beauty of numbers not as punishment but as freedom. "Equations are like stories," she says, her voice steady. "They prove that everything connects, even when people can't see it yet." A girl in the front row raises her hand. "Did they really call you a cheater?" Amara pauses, then smiles softly. "Yes. But sometimes being doubted just means you're ahead of the lesson." That evening, the town holds a small ceremony. No cameras this time, no reporters. Just family, teachers, neighbors, the ones who saw her fall and rise again. The mayor presents her with a plaque. Simple and plain, but her eyes are drawn instead to her mother in the crowd, clapping through tears. The applause feels different now, not as validation, but as acknowledgement. She realizes that change doesn't come from winning the world's praise, but from proving to yourself that you were right to keep going. Back home in her bedroom, Amara sits at her old desk, the one carved with her initials and dreams. She opens a notebook and begins to write a letter to the girl she used to be. "You were never too much. You were never the problem. Keep dreaming even when no one believes you." She closes it carefully, folds it once, and tucks it inside her math textbook. A message hidden for the next girl who might find it and need to know she's not alone. The next morning, she walks to the edge of town where the land opens into endless fields. The air feels light, unburdened. She looks east, where the sun climbs quietly. Bright, patient, sure. The road ahead stretches wide, unknown, but she no longer fears its turns. Somewhere, a rocket she helped design is orbiting Earth, carrying her equations, her signature, her name. She smiles to herself, whispering, "There's always another sky." And with steady steps, she walks toward it. Years later, sunlight spills through a window, where laughter echoes against new walls. Amara stands before a group of students, no longer a visitor but their teacher. The equations on her board are the same language that once saved her, now a gift she passes on. Numbers, she says, don't care about what people see when they look at you. They only answer truth. The class leans in, wide-eyed. In their faces, she sees reflections of herself, of courage, reborn over and over again. During a school assembly, a familiar voice calls her name. She turns to see Dr. Maya Torres, older now, eyes still fierce and kind. The room erupts in applause as the mentor crosses the stage to hug her. "I told you this was just the beginning. Maya whispers. Amara laughs softly, realizing beginnings never really end. They only widen. One quiet afternoon, a letter arrives again, bearing the NASA seal. They invite her to collaborate on a new youth initiative, one that pairs scientists with underrepresented students. She smiles, remembering the envelope that once changed everything. This time she signs not as a student, but as a partner. The local community gathers beneath strings of lights, music floating through warm evening air. Children run between tables decorated with homemade desserts. Amara steps to the microphone, heart steady. When they told me I didn't belong, she says, I decided to build a place where everyone belongs. The crowd applauds, not just for her words, but for what they now believe is possible. Night settles gently over the town. Amara walks alone to the open field where her story first turned. Fireflies spark across the dark grass. She looks up. Somewhere beyond those stars, the satellite she helped design still circles the Earth. She thinks of her mother, of her students, of the voices that once told her no, and smiles. The world didn't hand her space. She carved it herself. Her story will live where truth always does, in every heart that dares to rise.